This is a smattering of work that I've made in the last 10 years. I'm particularly interested in kind of knowledge systems, but ones that sit in a spiritual kind of connection and an unseen. Oh, sorry, I can't hear if I'm using it or not. Yeah, that have a kind of liminal connection or an unseen connection with, if you can imagine, photography. So really when I'm photographing objects, I'm more interested in what isn't in the photograph and how to make that present rather than what is demonstratively available and or manifest to you. So although I would say that in the world the only thing I can think of that is necessary is contingency, I'd also, and I'm not really aware in the world of any particular necessity of meaning or any necessity entity in the world. When I'm dealing with objects and making connections with historical manuscripts for Ngāi Tahu and Māori, and I'm in the presence of taonga or treasures like Heitiki, then I have to say there is really something that I can't explain and that affects me and connects, and I can feel in, like the very marrow of my bones. So in one ways I'm an animist, in another way I'm I don't know what you'd call me. I'm not even a speculative philosopher. I have no, I'm not aware of any necessary meaning in the world. So I suppose the only place I can look for it is in objects and through my activities as a photographer. Like that. Sorry, I'm a bit deaf, so I find it really hard to tell what's going on with the sound. So anyway, one of the relationships that have been important to me in the kind of space and the land in the South Island to Waipounamu is the history of the birds, or the birds that were, certainly extinct birds, but the birds that were in the bush, especially in the 1800s, when I'm thinking of some of the ancestors of mine that I'm aware of and their activities. So what was around them at the time? And then also what are the remnants of those birds and the kind of the physical ephemera that's left of them, so their bodies. That great irony of opening huge big metal cases in the Canterbury Museum and other New Zealand museums and just seeing the bodies of many, many dead like huia, who are extinct, and you don't know whether to cry or to pull your hair out or just to get snapping or to get painting or to get drawing. I suppose you have to do both. But so there's an enormous kind of heart-wrenching feeling that I think I have tried to instill back in the photographs to connect with people. Because, it's probably the same in here. Over here you've got koalas and you've got echidnas and things like that, and you all know what they look like. And they're on T-shirts and people take them out of the country as soft toys. But we've kind of had an over an abundance and a kind of dulling down and kind of erasing of the kind of real, or what might be the real character of what Heitiki are, for instance. So, there's lots of little plastic ones that used to be given away on Air New Zealand, and they're on T-shirts, and Dick Frizzell's painted them. And so it's like, I like the idea of photographing Heitiki or reapproaching them as an artist is kind of like flogging a dead horse. What else is there to say about these things? And in fact, there's everything to say, because it was amazing when I started photographing them, though it's quite a difficult thing to get into a museum and be allowed to photograph them, because in a way, taonga such as this isn't a common property. They still have a very, even the ones that have been lost, or their names have been lost, or their connections with their people have been lost, they still aren't common property. They're still something that is a negotiated or difficult kind of communication or path to take towards them, to be in a situation to work with their likeness or work with their photographic likeness. And what I discovered was, in fact, I knew nothing about them, and I really knew nothing about the singularity of them, even though I had seen them and they were green and they were beautiful and they're very expensive. You know, the ones that are in collections all over the world. And so what I discovered was there's a lot of them out the back in museums that aren't considered to be completely, well, they're not, you know, particularly palatable, or they still look half like an adze, or, you know, somebody's dropped one at one stage and it's broken its leg off or its head's come off, or its little eyes, if, you know, the wax has come out or the powers come out of the eyes. And so they're just all in drawers out the back, or there's some that are atypical, or they've been exposed in the ground or in water, and then rubbed, you know, like the water over time's rubbed them away. So you get this, they're just like people, like faces, like individuals. They're just so incredibly different to each other, and each one of them sitting kind of cold in a little museum drawer. You get them out, and I've been with one of my curators. She used to wait for the other, you know, curators at the museum weren't looking. She'd grab it and then rub it all over her face and warm them up, and so they look a lot better when they're in like human contact and they've warmed up a bit.